You got a great strain and you want to keep it going. Here are 4 tips on how to keep your clones growing strong generation after generation. But first, today's video is brought to you by Real Growers Recharge. If you want bigger roots for better fruits, check out Real Growers Recharge. Stronger, healthier plants. Check it out over at realgrowers.com. Come on, High C, you ready to get into it? I'll talk a little cloning.
Yeah, so I know that you're pretty much a clone-only guy, correct?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I love the consistency of it. And, man, once you dial it in, it's easy.
Okay, but you were telling me something about, like, hybrid vigor when that comes from seeds pretty much, right? Can you explain that?
Yeah, I mean, when you plant a seed, you'll see the vigor in it. It explodes with growth, a little bit different than a clone. Yeah, so don't forget these are annual plants, or at least cannabis is an annual plant. It's meant to grow over one season or 1 year, and then recombine its genetics. It's meant to make seeds. So male and female, they recombine genetics. It's called recombination in biology, but that resets things. So when we're keeping something like our 1994 G13 cut for 30 years or so, well, you're never resetting those genetics. So it gives a lot more opportunity for things to happen.
Okay, so even though there are advantages to cloning, there's also some things you need to worry about or at least be concerned with, and that's what we're going to talk about in today's video.
Let's do it.
Okay, so the first question that I have from you or for you is, where do I want to take my cuts from?
Yeah, the tops of the plants, or at least the new growth is what I'll say. The tippy top of the plant is called the apical meristem, and the auxins, the root-producing hormones, go up into that apical meristem, just like car driving on the highway. It's going to drive till the highway stops, right? So that's where the auxins are going to go. So it doesn't have to be that specific top, but just the new growth, man.
So cutting from the new growth and cloning from that's where I've got most of those hormones to help the growth in the clone.
Yeah, and when we talk about auxins, I'm talking about rooting hormones. When we talk about, the Clone-X or Olivia's cloning gel, those are rooting hormones. So the auxins allow non-root tissue to generate roots. That's what those hormones allow it to do.
Okay, and so real quick question. I saw something about if I am taking cuts from my mother plant, that I shouldn't just be constantly taking cuts. I should allow it some time to recover. Can you help me out with that?
Just for the auxins to redistribute, I guess would be the right word. If you took a clone from the top and all those auxins were dry, all that, those rooting hormones were going up to the top there, and then you removed it, give them a little bit of chance, give that plant a little bit of chance to redistribute those auxins.
So if I take a bunch of cuts from my mother today, how long should I wait before taking a bunch more cuts, do you think?
I mean, it really does depend on how fast your plants can recover, how what the amount of light you have, how hard you're pushing them. Is there CO2? I don't know, wait a week or so. Ain't gonna hurt nothing.
Okay, perfect. And then the main question that I had is, you mentioned having a G13 plant from 1973 or something.
Well, that would be an Afghani #1, bro. Nah, I'm just kidding.
How long is it safe to keep a mother from? Because I'm thinking, if I'm cloning from, if somebody comes to me and says, hey, we're going to make a clone from you, I'm 45 years old. I don't necessarily trust a good clone to come from my genetics. So how long is it safe to keep a mother and keep cloning from?
Well, especially if you were only supposed to live for a year, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Would you be surprised if at 80, 90, 100 years old, even at 30 or 40 times your life expectancy, if weird mutations started happening?
Yeah, but I have seen people claim that they keep the same mother plant for up to 30 years. Are you still going to be getting good quality cuts from that?
Yeah, I mean, that's a plant that was meant to live for a year that has been artificially kept 30 times its life expectancy. If there was any weirdness to come out, I would expect it to.
So we were talking with Jaron from New Millennium before we did the show, and he was talking about he usually doesn't let his mothers go that long. He likes to clone from clone from clone.
Sure.
And that also kind of scared me because I think that there's possibilities. I think of like a copy of a copy of a copy.
Yeah.
So where are some of the things, what are some of the things that you should keep in mind when cloning that way?
Well, the copy of the copy of the copy, I know that we've had strains out there for 30 years or so I don't know any genetic reason why that wouldn't work. What does happen, though, is, what did he call it, accumulation? We call it clone degradation. Mm-hmm. He called it accumulation because what his theory is that it's getting viruses or it's getting these pathogens in there. And like there's some plants that can take a hop latent viroid and it doesn't affect them. You know, I got air quotes around that because maybe 20 generations down the line it does, or maybe it's something that doesn't noticeably affect them.
And he was saying something about each time you take a cut, there's a possibility of adding something in, maybe from your scissors or from your environment. And so maybe the first cut doesn't have the problem, but it accumulates. You have 3 or 4 things that come in, and then you start to see a problem.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly makes sense. But even with those dangers, I still like to clone from clone. I don't really keep mothers because it does make sense to me that this plant is an annual plant. It's just not meant to live forever, and it just does get weaker as it gets older. So I like to take a clone, get that fresh, a fresh vigor going, and then cut another one from it. But what about you? What are your best tips for keeping your prize strains growing strong year after year? Let me know in the comments. And if you like this video, smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, and check out the other couple videos YouTube's recommending over here. Come on, I know you like them.